Welcome back. Faith is the driving force behind a lot of good in our communities. Faith motivates many of us to spend charitably and to dedicate time and energy to good causes. But faith communities are sometimes inward-looking and withdrawn from important public conversations. How can we encourage faith communities to become partners and advocates for better neighborhoods and cities? To discuss this, I'm joined by Joe Abbey-Colborne, Director of Faith in the City. Welcome to the show, Joe.
Thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
Now, regular viewers of Let the Quran Speak would probably recognize you from our recent My Community is United event right here at the Islamic Information and Dawah Center. And we featured that on our show in past episodes. Mm-hmm. So you were one of the main organizers of that event. Can you tell us a little bit about how that came about?
It was a great event. It came out of a really hard time, I think, in the community around Toronto. Following the attacks in Paris, there was a backlash that happened in many communities, including around here. And as that came in Toronto, there was the burning of the mosque in Peterborough. There was incidents where a woman here in Toronto was pushed to the ground and kicked and beaten and had her hijab ripped off her head and told to go back to her own country. Those sorts of things. I mean, it was terrible. And I was very disturbed by it and disturbed by the conversations that were happening on social media, and thought there needs to be something. We need to respond. And so I reached out to a few of the Muslim friends that I had and said, what can we do? And
I was one of them.
And you were one of them, yes. And we had a great conversation, and I was amazed at how quickly that event took off. That within 2 weeks we had an event where we filled this place with a couple hundred people from all across the community and all across the faith traditions and all the sectors of. We had political leaders and business people and
it was quite a
religious leaders.
Nice
it was great.
Mix.
Yeah, it was just amazing. And so it kind of it really tapped in for me the tremendous goodwill that there is. That we sometimes only see the negative.
What do you take away from that, seeing all of the neighbors and such a diverse group coming together in good spirits?
That there is a hunger and a desire in our cities for people to work together, for people to come together, not just to feel good together, but to actually do something positive in their neighborhoods. There's a tremendous amount of energy and desire for that, and to work in partnership together. We realize we can't do all this living alone.
Now, you came forward both on a personal level to reach out to us, but also as Director of Faith in the City. Can you tell us a little bit about what Faith in the City is all about and how that relates to what we did at My Community is United?
Faith in the City is a small fledgling organization that seeks to draw faith communities together to work on issues of common social concern. And when this event, when these incidents started to happen, and it started to reveal the fractures and the divisiveness that is there, and the concerns that are there, I thought it was really important that this opportunity be taken, that faith communities step forward and step into the conversation rather than retreat from it. To say, what are the issues here, and what does our faith say about those things? And I think that's what Faith in the City is about. People often assume that we're another interfaith dialogue organization. We are not primarily an interfaith dialogue organization. We're about interfaith action. How do we get the faith communities galvanized together and willing to work across their faith traditions to make their neighborhoods a better place, to make their city a better place?
And is this something new? Can you tell us a little bit about the history of Faith
It's
in the
about
City?
3 years old.
Okay.
Started in 2012. It was a few faith leaders approached one of the city councillors here, Joe Abbey-Colborne, in the city of Toronto, and asked him, how do we get faith communities more engaged? And is there engaged with the city and with the secular organizations, with the city of Toronto particularly, more engaged on issues of common social concern, issues of poverty and racism and inequality in our city. And very quickly after that started, I got involved with it, and I had some time, So I started devoting whatever time I could to this project, and we had.
And your background is as a Baptist
Yeah, I'm
minister.
a Baptist minister, and I had just finished where I was working in Parkdale for 10 years, and was looking around to see where was God leading me next, and thought I had some time, and said to Joe, you know, can I help? And I thought I'd be stuffing envelopes in his constituency office or just helping out like that, and the opportunity was there, and he asked me if I would take this on.
So what exactly do you want faith communities to do?
Many faith communities are involved in charitable work. There's an awful lot of charity that's done by faith communities and good work that's done in the communities. But often done in isolation, often done on their own, and a lot of faith communities wish they could do more, but because of limited resources or space or human resources, they can't. If those faith communities connected with each other and sometimes reached across their faith boundaries, there might be all kinds of other opportunities that have not been tapped into yet. I think of the sort of image in my head is, there are lots of churches, and they may have an older congregation and a large building and a mosque down the street in a storefront that's busting at the seams, but they don't have a lot of space. They've got a lot of people. If we could get them together, they're both concerned about the issues in their neighborhood, and bring the resources of the young energy in the mosque and the space that's available in the church, how much more could they do in their neighborhood? How much more could they do to benefit the people around them and to engage their neighborhood and to make the whole city a better place?
Why do you think that's not already happening?
Well, I think it is happening. I think there are examples of that, but they kind of fly under the radar because I think largely it's because faith communities don't want to draw a lot of attention to what they're doing. They don't want to blow their own horn and advertise themselves. They want to do their work faithfully, but what they end up doing is working a bit more in a silo. And so they don't have the opportunities to connect with the other faith communities that are around them. And don't get me wrong about interfaith dialogue. I think the dialogue is really good, but I think it's a byproduct. It's not the goal. The goal is for us to live out our faith, to live it out actively and with energy and with great commitment. And if we can find a partnership with someone that will help us do that. So I'm not suggesting that all the faiths just blend together and become one thing. Retain our distinctiveness. I'm a Christian, you're a Muslim. There are things that are inherent in both of our traditions that call us to be of service. And so I'm willing to work with anyone who's willing to work with me. I think there's lots of people out there who have the same attitude. They're willing to work with whoever is willing to work with them to make the world a better place.
It sounds like part of what you're advocating for is for faith communities to have a higher profile in their neighborhoods and in their cities. Is that fair to say?
Well, I think faith communities have something positive to bring to the conversation. I think that they have a tremendous amount of experience in service to their communities. And I think that, so I think that there's a voice we've kind of stepped back in the various faith traditions. And when we have stepped forward, we've been in a position where we've been kind of demanding something for ourselves. And I think this conversation is different. This is looking at our neighborhoods and being sensitive to the needs that are in our neighborhoods, and then saying, how do we live out our faith? How do we go into our neighborhoods in a way that is positive? And how do we do that in partnership with other faith traditions? That's the other thing, is that when those things happen, it sends a different message to the world at large around us, who often see faith traditions as divisive and self-centered. When they see people from faith traditions stepping out and working across their faith boundaries, I think it sends a really new message that the world needs to hear. When we did the event here, the Muslim community here encouraged people to come and bring donations for warm clothing and for sleeping bags and that sort of thing. And then those were donated to the Christian Resource Center down in Regent Park. I think that's a wonderful example.
Some communities might say, this sounds good, but they might feel a little bit cautious or a little bit anxious about going out into the public. They might feel more comfortable sort of with their security blanket wrapped around them, feeling, you know, they have the comfort of being within their faith community.
Yeah.
What would you say to faith communities, mosques, that want to step out there but are cautious about it?
We all feel like that. I feel comfortable with people who are just like me. Everybody does that. I think what I would encourage the Muslim community in particular, in my limited experience of the Muslim community, is that don't be bashful. Step out. There's a lot of goodwill in the neighborhood around you. When we did this event here, we had 4 synagogues represented here, several churches represented here in this community. Everybody was kind of waiting for somebody to step forward, and you guys did that. You had an opportunity to do something positive and to ask for help. That's another thing I think can be very going to the community and saying, we have a concern about this. How can we help each other? Not we're going to do this or we want it this way, but how can we help the community? How can we be engaged, and then listen?
You want to also differentiate, as you've already hinted at, between charitable action.
Yeah.
So sometimes there's interfaith charity drives and things like that, but you want to get a little bit beyond that. Is that right?
I kind of use a template of accompaniment and then assistance and then advocacy. That we accompany first. We listen, we learn, we get to know what are the needs they identify, and then we offer assistance where we can. And the assistance has to be done in such a way we need to constantly be evaluating how we assist the people around us so that it's done in a way that doesn't give them one thing and take something else away. But it creates an opportunity for them to be dignified and to be respected, and to also be an active agent and participant in the betterment of their own life. And then when we're doing that, we're moving from assistance to advocacy. I think there are opportunities for us to step up and to speak up, but sometimes we speak for people. And then how do we create opportunities for them to speak, for them to be heard? We sometimes say, well, we need to speak up for those who have no voice. They have a voice. There's just nobody listening. And so how do we create opportunities, use our forums of faith communities and our connections with the broader community to create and affirm opportunities for the people who are not being listened to be heard.
So where can people go to find out more about the work that Faith in the City is doing? faithinthecitytoronto.ca, all one word, of course, faithinthecitytoronto.ca. And also they can contact me at joe.faithinthecity@gmail.com. Okay, wonderful. And I understand that there's a symposium coming up, probably planned in April.
In April, yeah, we'll be doing a symposium and probably focused on issues of racial and social inequality and prejudice as those things relate to issues of poverty.
I look forward to it, and thank you so much for coming on the show, Joe.
I really enjoyed it. Thank you.
Hey YouTube, we hope you benefited from this video. If you liked it, or if you didn't, let us know in the comments below. And if you're interested in learning more, check out some of our other videos. And don't forget to subscribe so you can get new videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday.